What is prison like in Star Wars? Not the cells you imagine. The grinding never stops here on Valen 9. Metal against metal, coolant mist that clings to your skin, the endless manufacturing heartbeat of an imperial labor block. We build components for star destroyers we will never see, breathing air thick with chemical vapor and despair. The walls hum with machinery and occasional blaster fire. At night, prisoners whisper about the vanishing shifts, workers who disappear into sealed tunnels beneath the factory floor, never to return. Or worse, returning changed, their eyes vacant, movements mechanical, as if something essential has been carved away. The Empire needs obedient servants, not just imprisoned bodies. Ask yourself, in a galaxy where your mind can be made property of the state, is there anything worse than losing your freedom? Some nights I remember what flying felt like. The old Republic Y-wing under my control, stars stretching into blue streaks as we broke atmosphere. Freedom measured in altitude and velocity. Now freedom is measured in centimeters. The distance between my assigned workbench and the prisoner beside me. The gap beneath the refresher door. The space between breaths when the Imperial officers pass by our stations, looking for any excuse to extend our sentences. This morning, like every morning, I pull on the gray jumpsuit with my designation stamped across the back, K-7291, not Kareth Juno, Republic Navy pilot, not the man who once had a name, a rank, a purpose. Just another numbered component in the Empire's vast machine. Move it, scum. The stormtrooper barks from the doorway. His white armor gleams under the harsh lights, pristine against our filth. We file out into the corridor, a river of gray jumpsuits flowing toward the factory floor. There are rumors the parts we build here end up in star destroyers, massive warships we will never see except in propaganda holos, ships that patrol systems we will never visit again. The factory floor opens before us, a cavernous space filled with assembly lines and manufacturing stations. Overhead, catwalks crawl with security droids and Imperial officers, the air tastes of metal and desperation. I take my place at Station K7, a workbench littered with components and tools. My hands move automatically, fitting pieces together according to the diagram projected on the screen before me. The muscles in my fingers remember what my mind tries to forget. New arrival coming through, someone whispers. We never look up from our work, but our eyes shift sideways. A man stumbles between the rows, escorted by guards. His face is bruised, his eyes wide with shock. New ones always look the same. They still believe this is temporary. They still think there might be release. Beside me, Darth shifts uncomfortably. An older man, balding with deep lines etched around his mouth. He has been here longer than most. 8 years, though time loses meaning in this place. Another one for tunnel duty, he murmurs, so quietly I barely catch it. Tunnel duty? I keep my head down, voice low. Speaking during work hours can earn you a shock from the disciplinary collars we all wear. The vanishing shifts, Darth says, connecting two components with practiced efficiency. You notice how people disappear. They go down to the lower levels. Maintenance, they say, but they never come back up. A chill runs through me despite the heat of the factory. In the 3 months since my arrival, I have seen prisoners taken away, but I assume transfers to other facilities. The Empire is nothing if not bureaucratic in its cruelty. What happens down there? I ask. Darth shakes his head minutely. Nobody knows. But I heard one of the guards talking about Project Obedience. Something about making perfect soldiers. Before I can ask more, the overseer passes by our station. We fall silent, focusing intently on our work. The day grinds on, hour after identical hour, until the evening siren wails. We file back to the dormitories, exhausted, fingers bleeding from sharp edges and slipped tools. No medical attention for such minor injuries. Bacta is reserved for workers who suffer damages that might impair productivity. That night, I lie awake on my bunk, listening to the distant hum of machinery that never stops, even after production hours end. Draz's words echo in my mind. Tunnel duty, vanishing shifts, project obedience, perfect soldiers. Sleep eludes me as I stare at the ceiling, mapping the cracks in the durasteel panels. Tomorrow will be the same as today, and the day after. Unless I can find a way to discover what lies beneath our feet, the opportunity comes sooner than expected. 2 days later, I am reassigned to maintenance detail, a small team of prisoners tasked with repairing faulty equipment throughout the facility. The work is harder, more technical, but it offers something precious: movement. We travel between sections, escorted by a single guard rather than confined to one station. It is not freedom, but it is a change in routine, and in this place, that alone feels dangerous. Our supervisor is a middle-aged Imperial technician named Orlan. Unlike the guards, he speaks to us directly, giving instructions in a flat, bored voice. He has been overseeing prisoner maintenance crews for years, and to him, we are simply another set of tools to be utilized. You, he points at me on the 3rd day. Take this diagnostic kit to level sub-3, junction box 47A. Power fluctuation in the security system, fix it. My heart beats faster. Sub-levels, where the tunnels begin, where prisoners disappear. Alone? I ask, unable to keep the surprise from my voice. Orlan checks his datapad. Guard shortage today. Too many units deployed to crush some pitiful uprising on the southern continent. He taps something on the screen. Your disciplinary collar is set to detonate if you deviate from the assigned path. The kit has a tracker. You have 30 minutes. The turbo lift to the sub-levels requires an access code, which Orlan inputs before stepping back. As the doors close, I catch a final glimpse of his indifferent face. Then I am descending, alone for the first time since my capture. The silence is startling after months of constant noise. I can hear my own breathing, rapid and shallow. Sub-level 3 is dimly lit, the corridors narrower than those above. The air is colder, with an underlying smell of antiseptic that reminds me of medical facilities. I follow the blinking indicator on the diagnostic kit, turning corners, passing closed doors with unfamiliar designation codes. There are no other prisoners here, no workers of any kind. Only the occasional patrol droid, which scans my collar and moves on. Junction box 47A is located in a maintenance alcove near a set of heavy blast doors marked Restricted Area SLO. The security system does indeed show a power fluctuation. I open the panel and begin the repair, but my eyes keep drifting to those doors. What lies beyond them? Is this where the vanishing shifts go? As I work, voices approach from around the corner. I freeze, hands still inside the junction box, and listen. The rejection rate is still too high, a clipped Imperial accent says. 83% of subjects fail integration within the first 48 hours. The latest batch showed improvement, another voice responds, deeper, with the artificial quality of a vocoder. Subject 12 to 88 maintained cognitive function for 72 hours before neural collapse. Not good enough. Lord Vader expects results. These implants must be perfected before mass production can begin. They pass by without noticing me, too engrossed in their conversation. A chill runs down my spine. Implants, subjects, neural collapse. The pieces begin to align into a horrifying picture. I finish the repair quickly and return to the turbo lift, mind racing. When I reach the upper levels, Orlan barely acknowledges my return, simply checking the kit and sending me to my next assignment. He does not ask what I might have heard. Perhaps he does not care. Perhaps he already knows. That night in the dormitory, I sit on the edge of my bunk, watching the other prisoners. How many have noticed the disappearances? How many suspect the truth? I catch Draz's eye across the room, and he nods slightly, making his way over to sit beside me. "You went below," he says, not a question. "Junction box repair." I confirm quietly. I saw the restricted area, heard things. Draz leans closer. "There are rumors. Some say they are building a new kind of stormtrooper, soldiers who cannot disobey. Not building, I correct him, converting. Understanding dawns in his tired eyes. The prisoners who disappear, I nod. Subjects, they called them. They are implanting something in their brains. Most die from it. They called it neural collapse. Darth rubs a hand across his face. Perfect obedience through technology. The Emperor always did favor efficiency. We have to tell the others, I whisper. Warn them. Darth looks at me sharply. And then what, pilot? We are trapped here. No weapons, no ships, no way to contact the outside world. He is right, of course. Knowledge without action is just another form of torture. But I cannot accept that there is nothing to be done, not when I now know what awaits us in the tunnels below. There must be a way, I insist. A vulnerability in their system. No prison is perfect. This one has been for 8 years, Darth replies bitterly. But I see something flicker behind his eyes. Hope, perhaps, or the memory of it. Before we can speak further, the lights dim, signaling the beginning of sleep cycle. Darth returns to his bunk, and I lie down on mine, staring into darkness. In my mind, I see those blast doors marked SLO. I hear the clinical discussion of failed subjects. I imagine prisoners, people like me, strapped to tables while machines drill into their skulls. Sleep comes, eventually, but it offers no escape. In my dreams, I am flying again, soaring through star-filled skies. But when I look down at the controls in my hands, they are not hands at all, but gleaming metal appendages, and I cannot change course, no matter how hard I try. I am locked on a trajectory set by someone else, a passenger in my own body. I wake, gasping, drenched in sweat despite the chill. Around me, the dormitory is silent except for the sounds of sleeping men. Men who do not yet know they are destined to become components in a machine far more terrible than the one we currently serve. I lie back, breathing slowly until my heart steadies. Tomorrow, I will begin searching for a way out, not just for myself, but for all of us, because some fates are worse than imprisonment, some fates are worse than death. The maintenance assignment becomes my lifeline, my window into the prison's systems and structure. Each day, I memorize a little more of the facility layout, noting patrol patterns, security protocols, potential weaknesses. It is like plotting a flight path through an asteroid field, finding the narrow spaces between certain death. A week passes. I am sent to the sub-levels twice more, always alone, always with the threat of my explosive collar ensuring compliance. Each time, I complete my assigned repair quickly, then use the remaining minutes to gather information. A glimpse through a viewport into a laboratory where medical droids hover over still forms on tables. A snatched conversation between two scientists about neural interface rejection and memory suppression protocols. Once, terribly, the sound of screaming, abruptly cut short. I return from these excursions hollow-eyed and silent. Darth watches me with growing concern but asks no questions in the open dormitory. Instead, he introduces me to others, a small circle of long-term inmates who have managed to preserve something of themselves despite years in this place. Nava, a former coruscant, engineer who knows the prison's power systems intimately. Keel, once a slicing specialist before his capture, who can read Imperial code like others read Basic. Lorne, a hulking Trandoshan whose scaled skin bears the scars of countless disciplinary actions, but whose eyes remain defiant. We speak carefully, in fragments, during meal periods and work shifts, never directly about escape or resistance. The walls have ears in an Imperial facility, both electronic and human. Informants are rewarded with extra rations, better assignments, promises of reduced sentences that never materialize. Trust is as rare as hope in this place, but slowly, it grows between us. The collar is the first problem, Nava whispers one day as we stand in the food line, plasteel trays in hand. Tamper with it, and it detonates. Try to remove it, same result. There must be a control system, I reply, eyes forward, voice barely audible over the din of the mess hall. A way to deactivate them. Security Center, Level 2, Keel joins in, sliding his tray along the counter. Behind 3 layers of access doors and guard stations. Impossible to reach, Nava concludes. But I have seen something during my maintenance rounds. A secondary security terminal in the administrative section used for monitoring rather than direct control, but connected to the same system. Protected, yes, but not impossible. There might be another way, I say. That night, we gather in the far corner of the dormitory, a tight circle of bodies that appears to casual observation like just another group of prisoners sharing stories to pass the time. Lorne stands watch, his massive form blocking the view from the corridor. I sketch the terminal location on the floor with water, a diagram that will evaporate without trace. It connects to the main system. If we could access it, even briefly, we would need an administrative code, Keel says, officer-level clearance, and a distraction, Nava adds, something to draw security away from that section. Lorne rumbles softly, his scaled face unreadable to those who do not know him. I can provide distraction. We all fall silent, understanding what he offers. The Trandoshan has survived more beatings than the rest of us combined, but even his resilience has limits. A distraction sufficient to clear that section would bring brutal response. No, I say finally. We need a different approach, one that does not require sacrifice. Draz, who has been silent until now, leans forward. There is another option. The new Imperial officer, the young one with the nervous tic. I have seen how he looks at the female prisoners during inspection. There is weakness there. Opportunity. I follow his gaze across the dormitory to where Solara sits on her bunk. Once a dancer in the pleasure palaces of Nar Shaddaa, now prisoner K4419. Beautiful still, despite the hardship of this place, with a grace that even the drab prison uniform cannot disguise. She catches us looking, and her eyes narrow with understanding. She has survived by reading intentions, by staying one step ahead of desire. She knows what Draz suggests before he speaks it. No, I say again more firmly. We do not use people that way. We are not the Empire. Pretty ideals, pilot, Draz replies, his voice hardening. But ideals will not unlock these collars or open those doors. Neither will becoming what we fight against, I counter. There must be another way. The tension stretches between us, a fragile alliance already fraying. Then Solara herself approaches, moving with deliberate casualness to join our circle. I heard my name, she says quietly, settling beside me. Or rather, I heard what was not said. We were discussing options. Draz begins. You were discussing me as an option, she corrects him. Her gaze is steady, unafraid. I know what Lieutenant Brax sees when he looks at me. I have survived the attention of men like him before. We are not asking that of you. I interject. Perhaps you should. Her voice is calm, matter of fact. You need access to the administrative section. Brax has that access. I have what Brax wants, or what he thinks he wants. It is too dangerous, I insist. Solara laughs, a short, bitter sound. More dangerous than what awaits us below? I have seen the ones who return from the tunnels, pilot. The few who do return, empty shells with machine parts where their will used to be. I would risk much to avoid that fate. The others watch us. Silent. This is the reality of resistance in a place like Vallon 9. There are no clean choices, no perfect solutions. Only compromises and calculations, weighing one terrible risk against another. We need to plan carefully, I say finally. Minimize the risk to everyone. Solara nods. Of course. I am not suicidal, merely practical. And so our conspiracy grows, a fragile web of desperate people seeking any path to survival. We know the consequences of failure. We have all seen the public executions in the yard, the examples made of those who break imperial rule. But we have also seen the vacant eyes of the returned, those rare few who come back from the tunnels fundamentally changed, walking reminders of the fate that awaits us all. Days pass as we refine our plan. I continue my maintenance duties, mapping the facility, memorizing guard rotations. Keel works in the communications section, learning the prison's data systems. Nava studies the power grid, identifying critical junctions. Lorne and Draz gather materials, small items that might prove useful, a length of wire here, a tool there, things that can be hidden and will not be missed. And Solara begins her dangerous performance, catching Lieutenant Brax's eye in the mess hall, holding his gaze a moment too long during inspections. A delicate, deadly dance of feigned interest. The young officer responds predictably, lingering near her workstation, finding reasons to speak with her. His attention is noticed by others, prisoners and guards alike, producing sneers and whispers. Such arrangements are not uncommon in Imperial facilities, though officially forbidden. Power creates its own permissions. I watch this unfold with growing unease. Despite Solara's assurances, despite our careful planning, the risk she takes gnaws at me. This is my fault, my responsibility. It was I who first spoke of escape, who kindled this dangerous flame of hope. One evening, as we return to the dormitory after the work cycle, Solara falls into step beside me. Without looking at me, she murmurs, "Tomorrow, security override Station 2A, maintenance inspection scheduled at 1,500 hours. Brax will be there." "So soon? Are you certain?" "The timing is right. He has late shift inspection. The corridor will be clear." Her voice remains casual, as if discussing the food rations. "Be ready." Before I can respond, she drifts away, returning to the women's section of the dormitory. I find the others, relay the information in fragmented whispers. Tomorrow then, our one chance to access the security systems, to discover if escape is even possible. That night, sleep is impossible. I lie awake, mentally reviewing every step of our plan, every potential point of failure. The collar around my neck seems to tighten, a constant reminder of the consequences of discovery. One wrong move, one alarm triggered, and the Empire will ensure we never pose a threat again. Morning comes. The work siren wails. Another day in Labor Block 17 begins, identical to all the others except for the electricity in the air between us, the conspirators. We move through our routines mechanically, minds focused on what is to come. The maintenance assignment comes as expected, directing me to Security Station 2A for a diagnostic check on the environmental controls. Orlan barely looks at me as he hands me the tools, unaware of what he sets in motion. The turbolift rises to Level 2, Administrative Section. My collar contains a tracking chip, but my presence here is authorized, expected. Still, sweat trickles down my spine as I step into the corridor. Imperial officers pass by, ignoring the gray jumpsuited prisoner with his head lowered respectfully. Just another piece of equipment performing its function. Security Station 2A is a small monitoring room adjacent to the main administrative offices. When I arrive, it is empty save for the banks of screens showing various sections of the facility. I begin the assigned diagnostic, opening the environmental control panel while keeping one eye on the door. At precisely 1,500 hours, the distinctive sound of Imperial boots approaches. Lieutenant Brax appears in the doorway, young and rigid in his olive-gray uniform. His eyes flicker with recognition when he sees me, then disappointment. "Where is maintenance worker K4419? He demands. "She was assigned to this detail." I keep my expression neutral, confused. "I was assigned solo, sir. No other worker was listed on the order." Brax frowns, checking his datapad. "There must be a mistake. Wait here." He steps back into the corridor, presumably to communicate with the maintenance supervisor. This is the moment. the narrow window we have planned for. As soon as he is out of sight, I abandon the environmental controls and move to the security terminal. My fingers fly across the keypad, inputting the command sequence Keel provided, accessing the system with the credentials Solara obtained from Brax during their private conversations. The screen flashes green. Access granted. I navigate through the security protocols, searching for the collar control system. There, buried beneath layers of authorization, the deactivation codes. I begin the download to the data chip concealed in my palm, a tiny storage device salvaged and reprogrammed by Keel from discarded communications equipment. Footsteps return. I quickly switch back to the environmental controls, the data chip disappearing into a seam in my jumpsuit just as Brax reappears. Some mix-up in the assignment. He says, irritation clear in his voice. Complete your work and return to your section. Yes, sir. I focus intently on the open panel, heart hammering in my chest. Did he notice? Does he suspect? Brax lingers, watching me work. I can feel his eyes on my back, searching for any sign of deception. I force my hands to remain steady, going through the motions of the diagnostic with practiced precision. After what seems like hours but must only be minutes, he turns away, called to some other duty. I finish the assigned maintenance task properly, ensuring the environmental systems show the expected readings. Then I gather my tools and exit the station, walking at a measured pace back toward the turbolift. Each step feels like moving through liquid, time stretching and contracting around me. The data chip burns against my skin, its contents enough to condemn us all to immediate execution if discovered. The return to the lower levels passes without incident. I report to Orlan, who takes back the tools with the same indifference with which he provided them. My shift continues, repair following repair, while the stolen data waits, a small ember of possibility in a world designed to extinguish hope. That evening, in the brief privacy of the washrooms, I pass the chip to Keel. His long fingers close around it, making it vanish as if it never existed. We do not speak, we do not need to. Our next steps depend on what the data reveals, whether the security systems can indeed be bypassed, the collars deactivated. Hours pass. The dormitory settles into uneasy sleep. I lie awake, as I have so many nights before, but tonight is different. Tonight, for the first time since my capture, I feel something other than despair, something dangerous. A shadow falls across my bunk. Keel, moving silently despite his tall frame, crouches beside me. His voice is barely a breath. It can be done. 2 days later, we make our move. The plan is simple in concept, complex in execution. Using the stolen security codes, we will deactivate the disciplinary collars during the shift change when the guard presence is at its minimum. With the collars disabled, we will access the service tunnels that run beneath the factory floor, following them to the facility's power plant. There, Nava will trigger a controlled overload, creating a blackout that will disable the security doors and surveillance systems. In the confusion, we will make our way to the landing pad, where prisoner transport ships dock weekly to deliver new inmates and remove those selected for transfer to other facilities or the mysterious Project Obedience. Simple, except that each step depends on precise timing, on systems functioning exactly as we predict, on Imperial forces reacting according to standard protocol rather than with unexpected creativity. The margin for error is non-existent, but the alternative is to wait until our names appear on the transfer lists for the tunnels below, to become subjects rather than prisoners, components rather than beings. Morning comes. We move through our routines one last time, each of us carrying hidden tools and supplies gathered over weeks of careful theft. Small things that will not be missed until inventory, if then. Wire, circuit boards, chemical compounds from the cleaning supplies, harmless individually, but combined correctly, useful. The work shift begins. Hour follows hour, the familiar rhythm of the factory floor unchanged on this day that will end differently than all the others. The supervisors pace the aisles, neural prods ready to correct any lapse in productivity. The assembly lines continue their endless production of components for ships most of us will never see. I watch the chronometer on the wall, counting down to shift change. Beside me, Darth works with the same efficiency he has shown for 8 years, his weathered face betraying nothing of what is to come. Across the factory floor, Nava monitors a power junction, her small form almost hidden by the machinery. Keel sits at his communications station, fingers moving across the keypad in the same pattern as always, except for the few crucial keystrokes that access the security system through the back door we have created. The shift change siren wails. Guards move toward their stations for the handover procedure. This is the moment of greatest vulnerability in the Imperial system, the brief gap when attention divides between those leaving and those arriving. I feel the collar around my neck loosen slightly, the constant pressure easing. Not physically, the device itself remains unchanged, but the signal that would trigger detonation if I move beyond my authorized areas has been temporarily disabled. A small indicator light on the collar blinks from red to green, visible only if one knows to look for it. Around the factory floor, 5 other lights change color. We move separately, calmly, toward our designated positions. No rush, no obvious coordination. Just workers heading to their next assignments, following the patterns established over months or years of imprisonment. I make my way to the maintenance access hatch near the eastern wall, the one that leads to the service tunnels. Authorized personnel only, but without the collar enforcement, such designations become meaningless. The hatch opens with the code I memorized during my maintenance rounds. I slip through, finding myself in a narrow tunnel bathed in the dim red glow of emergency lighting. One by one, the others join me. Darth, Keel, Nava, Lorne, and finally Solara, her face tight with tension but her eyes clear and focused. 30 minutes until the next security sweep registers our absence, Keel says softly. After that, full lockdown. Then we move, I reply, turning toward the tunnel that will lead us to the power plant. We proceed in silence, navigating by the rough map I constructed from maintenance, records, and my own observations. The service tunnels are cramped, designed for droids rather than humans, forcing us to crouch as we hurry forward. The air grows warmer, the hum of machinery louder as we approach the facility's heart. The power plant appears before us, a massive chamber filled with generators and control systems. Valon 9 produces its own energy, isolated from the planetary grid for security purposes. 2 technicians monitor the systems, their backs to us as they check readings on the central console. Lorne moves with surprising speed for his size. Before the technicians can turn, he is upon them, massive, scaled hands clamping over mouths, applying precise pressure to render them unconscious without permanent harm. They slump to the floor without raising alarm. Nava steps forward, her small hands moving confidently across the control panel. The system is designed to prevent catastrophic failure, she explains as she works. Multiple redundancies, automatic shutdowns if parameters exceed safety margins. Can you bypass them? Darth asks. Not bypass. Use. Her fingers dance across the controls. A controlled overload in secondary systems will trigger emergency protocols. The primary generators will shut down to prevent chain reaction. 8 seconds of total blackout before auxiliaries engage. 8 seconds. I repeat. 8 seconds of darkness during which security doors will unlock, surveillance systems will reset, automated defenses will go offline. 8 seconds to move through the facility undetected to reach the landing pad where our one chance at escape awaits. On your signal, Nava says, looking at me. I check the chronometer. 22 minutes until security registers our absence. We are committed now, past the point of return. Whether we succeed or fail, we will not return to our workstations, will not sleep in the dormitory tonight. Freedom or death are the only possible outcomes. Do it, I say. Nava initiates the sequence. Indicators on the control panel shift from green to amber, then flashing red. A warning klaxon begins to sound, alerting the facility to imminent power fluctuations. Move. I order, and we are running back through the service tunnel toward the access point nearest the landing pad. Above us, the prison will be responding to the warning, following procedures for potential system failure. Guards will be checking critical areas, securing high-value prisoners, preparing for the brief darkness they have been assured will come. We reach the access hatch that will take us to the upper level, near the eastern perimeter where prisoner transports dock. Keel keys in the security bypass, and the hatch slides open. We emerge into a corridor surprisingly empty of personnel, all attention focused on the power plant and its apparent malfunction. 3 minutes to overload, Nava whispers, consulting the small timer she carries. We move quickly but carefully, avoiding main corridors, using the service passages and maintenance shafts I mapped during my assignments. The landing pad is close, separated from us by 2 security doors and an exterior checkpoint. Formidable barriers under normal circumstances, but about to become temporarily irrelevant. The first security door opens to Keel's stolen codes. Beyond it, the corridor stretches toward the second door, this one manned by 2 stormtroopers standing at attention. There is no avoiding them, no alternative route. We press ourselves against the wall, waiting for our moment. 2 minutes. Nava updates us. I peer around the corner. The stormtroopers remain at their post, seemingly unaffected by the warning klaxons. Of course, they would not abandon their position without direct orders, regardless of facility alerts. Imperial training ensures compliance above all else. We need a distraction, Darth says, something to draw them away from the door. Before any of us can respond, Solara steps forward. I have this. She moves into the corridor before we can stop her, stumbling as if injured or ill. Her voice rises in a convincing cry of pain. Help, please, there is a fire in the maintenance shaft. The alarms, something is burning. The stormtroopers turn toward her, momentarily confused by the appearance of a prisoner in a restricted area during a facility alert. One steps forward, blaster raised. Halt, identify yourself. Solara continues forward, clutching her side, the perfect image of a panicked worker. Fire! In the electrical junction, it is spreading. The troopers exchange a glance, their helmets hiding their expressions, but their body language betraying uncertainty. A fire during power system warnings could indicate serious malfunction. Protocol would dictate investigation. Check her identification, one says to the other. I will verify the report. The second trooper nods, approaching Solara while the first moves toward the maintenance shaft she indicated. It is exactly the division of forces we needed. As the remaining trooper reaches Solara, Lorne emerges from our hiding place, covering the distance between them in 2 massive strides. The Trandoshan's blow is precise, catching the Imperial soldier at the vulnerable junction between helmet and armor. The trooper crumples silently. The first stormtrooper turns at the sound, reaching for his comm. He never completes the call. Darth is there, wielding a length of pipe salvaged from the service tunnels. The trooper falls, armor clattering against the floor. 1 minute, Nava says urgently. We drag the unconscious soldiers into the maintenance shaft, out of immediate sight. Then we move to the security door. Keel inputs the final code, but a red light flashes on the panel. They have changed the sequence, he says, fingers flying across the keypad. Security protocol during facility alert. Can you bypass it? I ask, watching the corridor for any sign of approach. Yes, but not before the power fails, he replies. We need the blackout. 40 seconds, 30. We position ourselves around the door, ready to move the instant it unlocks. The landing pad lies just beyond, and on it, if our intelligence is correct, a prisoner transport preparing for departure. 20 seconds. The klaxons change tone, the warning shifting to imminent system shutdown. 10 seconds. Ready, I tell the others, tension coiling in my muscles like a spring wound too tight. The lights flicker once, twice, and then darkness falls, absolute and complete. The security door clicks softly as electromagnetic locks disengage. Keel pushes it open, and we move through, counting silently. 8 seconds of blindness, of vulnerability, of opportunity. 1, 2. We pass the checkpoint, empty now as guards respond to the facility crisis. 3, 4. The outer door looms before us, a heavy barrier between prison and sky. 5, 6. It swings open at our touch, no longer sealed by security systems. 7, 8. We emerge onto the landing pad just as emergency lighting flickers to life, bathing everything in dim red glow. Before us sits the transport vessel, a bulky Imperial prisoner shuttle with its landing ramp extended. 2 pilots are visible through the cockpit viewport, running emergency system checks. Now, I say, and we sprint across the open space toward the ship. Behind us, alarms change pitch as security systems reboot, as our absence is finally noted, as the facility shifts from technical alert to full lockdown. The pilots see us too late. Lorne reaches the ramp first, charging up into the shuttle's hold. There are sounds of brief struggle, then silence. By the time the rest of us board, the Trandoshan has secured the vessel. The pilots lie unconscious but alive, their weapons now in our hands. Close the ramp, I order, moving toward the cockpit. Behind us, alarms blare across the facility. Through the viewports, I see stormtroopers emerging onto the landing pad, blasters raised. The first shots strike the hull as the ramp seals shut. Keel slides into the pilot's seat, hands moving across unfamiliar controls. Unlocking now. Security protocols bypassed. The engines rumble to life beneath us, the shuttle trembling as power flows through systems designed for atmospheric flight rather than combat. It was never meant to withstand direct assault. Already, the hull integrity warnings flash on the control panel as concentrated blaster fire strikes the same sections repeatedly. They are targeting the engines, Nava warns, checking a secondary display. 3 more hits to the same stabilizer, and we lose maneuvering capability. There is no time for proper pre-flight procedures, no luxury of systematic checks. Keel engages thrusters at maximum, and the shuttle lurches upward, nearly throwing us off our feet. Blaster bolts continue to streak past the viewports as we gain altitude, the prison complex shrinking below us. Imperial communications activated. Draz reports from the communications station. They are calling for interceptors. TIE fighters will launch within minutes. The atmosphere thins around us, the blue of Valon 9's sky darkening toward the black of space. Freedom. So close now, visible through the transparisteel viewports, yet still beyond reach. A prison transport has no hyperdrive, no capacity for interstellar travel. At best, it can reach orbit, perhaps dock with a larger vessel. It was never designed as an escape craft. What is our plan? Solara asks, voice steady despite the chaos. We cannot outrun Imperial fighters. We do not need to outrun them. I reply, moving to stand behind Keel at the controls. We just need to reach the right coordinates. Understanding dawns on their faces. During my imprisonment, during the endless work shifts and sleepless nights, I had spoken little of my past. They knew I was a pilot, captured during a Republic operation in the early days of the Empire. What I had not shared was the nature of that operation, or why I had been imprisoned rather than simply executed like so many others. You were resistance, Draz says slowly. Even before there was an organized rebellion. I nod. My last mission was to establish a network of emergency rendezvous points in this sector. Coordinates where extraction vessels could meet operatives who had completed their assignments or whose cover was compromised. That was years ago, Nava points out. The Empire controls this entire sector now. Yes, I acknowledge. But the protocols remain. The coordinates are hardwired into specific navigation systems. Even if no one monitors them anymore, even if the resistance cells in this region have been destroyed, the automated beacons would continue broadcasting on encrypted frequencies. A desperate gamble. Pilot, Darth says, but there is no criticism in his voice, only the recognition that desperate gambits are all we have left. Keel inputs the coordinates I recite from memory, guiding the lumbering shuttle toward a point in high orbit around Vallon 9's smaller moon. The journey takes precious minutes that we cannot afford, each second bringing Imperial response closer. The comm system crackles with orders for us to return to the facility immediately or face destruction. No one bothers to respond. Imperial vessels launching, Darth announces, 2 TIE fighters on intercept trajectory, estimated contact in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Perhaps enough time to reach the coordinates, but not enough to be rescued, assuming there is even anyone left to respond to the ancient emergency protocols I am betting our lives upon. I say, studying the tactical display. Can we hide? The moon has mining installations, asteroid debris fields. Nava shakes her head. TIE sensors will detect our engine signature regardless of visual cover. Our only advantage is they will likely attempt to disable rather than destroy us. Valuable Imperial property and all that. Property. That is how the Empire sees us. Equipment to be utilized, repurposed, or recycled, never beings with will or worth of our own. The thought hardens my resolve. Better to die free than return to become components in the Empire's machine of obedience. The emergency beacon, I decide. Activate it now, full broadcast strength. If anyone is monitoring these frequencies, they need to know we are here. Keel nods, fingers dancing across the communications panel. Beacon active. Broadcasting identification and distress call on all resistance bands. The old Republic emergency codes flow from our vessel, a desperate cry into the void. Coordinates. Identification protocols long outdated. A plea for extraction that may fall on deaf receivers or dead space. 5 minutes to intercept, Darth updates. The tension in the shuttle is palpable now, each of us facing the growing possibility that our escape has only changed the manner of our ending, not the outcome itself. We should arm the weapons systems, Lorne suggests. This transport has minimal defense capabilities, but enough to slow pursuit. I shake my head. Against TIE fighters, we would be destroyed in seconds. Our only chance is to reach the coordinates and hope the beacon brings help. And if it does not, Solara asks quietly. I meet her gaze steadily. Then we die free. No one argues. After Vallon 9, after witnessing what awaited us in the tunnels below, this is a fate all of us would choose. To die as ourselves rather than live as hollow shells, our bodies piloted by Imperial technology, our minds erased and replaced with perfect compliance. 3 minutes to intercept, Darth says, TIEs moving into attack formation. The shuttle shudders as Keel pushes it to maximum speed, the engines straining beyond their design parameters. We are so close to the coordinates now, the small patch of empty space that represents our only hope. No different in appearance from any other section of vacuum, distinguished only by numbers in the navigation computer and the memory of a forgotten resistance protocol. 2 minutes. The comm system crackles again, but this time it is not Imperial commands that emerge from the speaker. Instead, a voice, distorted by distance and encryption. Unidentified vessel broadcasting on restricted emergency frequency, verify authentication protocol OREX 7. My heart nearly stops. Someone is listening. Someone remembers the old codes. I grab the comm unit, fingers trembling slightly as I input the response sequence. Authentication verified. The voice returns. We have your position. Maintain current trajectory. Assistance is inbound. Relief surges through me, so powerful it is almost painful. I look around at my companions, seeing the same desperate hope reflected in their faces. Perhaps we will not die today after all. 1 minute to intercept, Darth reminds us. TIE fighters preparing to fire. Shields at maximum, Nava reports. Though against concentrated fire, they will not last long. We brace for impact, for the stuttering vibration of laser cannons striking our hull, but it never comes. Instead, the tactical display erupts with new signatures, emerging from hyperspace directly ahead of us. 2 vessels, then 3. Not Imperial design, older craft, modified for speed and combat, bearing no official markings or identifiable registration. "This is Extraction Team Fulcrum," the comm announces. "We have you covered, transport. Maintain course directly to our position. We will handle the Imperial pursuit." The newcomers accelerate past us, swift and nimble where our shuttle is bulky and slow. They engage the TIE fighters with practiced precision, scattering the Imperial formation, drawing fire away from our vulnerable vessel. I watch in awe as they execute maneuvers I recognize from my days as a Republic pilot, tactics taught in academies long since transformed into Imperial training grounds. "They are resistance," Silara whispers, watching the battle unfold through the viewport. "Actual organized resistance against the Empire." "More than resistance," I reply, recognizing the significance of the call sign they used. "Fulcrum is a coordination protocol. These are not isolated cells fighting their own battles. This is a network, an alliance." The largest of the resistance vessels moves alongside our shuttle, matching our speed precisely. A docking tube extends from its hull, connecting with our airlock with a metallic clang that reverberates through the cabin. "Transport secured," the comm announces. "Prepare for emergency extraction. Leave everything, move immediately through the airlock. We cannot maintain position long. We need no further urging." Abandoning the shuttle controls, we rush toward the airlock. The mechanism cycles open, revealing the docking tube beyond, a temporary bridge between vessels. One by one, we cross over, leaving Imperial territory for what feels like the first time in lifetimes. Draz, Nava, Keel, Lorne, Silara. And finally, myself, pausing at the threshold to look back at the prison transport that carried us to freedom. As I step into the resistance ship, the airlock seals behind me. There is a momentary sensation of acceleration as the vessels separate, the docking tube retracting. Through a nearby viewport, I watch the abandoned shuttle drift away, already being targeted by the regrouping TIE fighters. It erupts in a brief, silent flare of light and debris. Our pursuers will find no prisoners to return to Vallon 9, no subjects for their project of perfect obedience. The Resistance crew move with practiced efficiency, securing systems, plotting jump coordinates, preparing for hyperspace. They are a mix of species and backgrounds, united by purpose rather than origin. Some wear partial uniforms of disparate design, others civilian attire modified for practical use. All carry themselves with the focused alertness of those who have lived too long in danger. Their leader approaches us, a woman whose age is difficult to determine, her face weathered by experience rather than years. She studies us carefully, noting our prison garb, the marks of captivity still evident in our bearing and bodies. "I am Commander Doran," she introduces herself. "You broadcast on a very old frequency, one we monitor more out of tradition than expectation these days." "Kereth Juno," I reply, using my real name for the first time in months. "Former Republic Navy. These are my companions from Labor Block 17 on Vallon 9. Recognition flickers in her eyes at the mention of the prison facility. Vallon 9 is a black site. Few who enter ever leave. Fewer still by choice, Draz adds grimly. The Empire is conducting experiments there. I explain. Project Obedience. Neural implants designed to override free will, to create soldiers who cannot disobey orders. They are using prisoners as test subjects. Commander Doran's expression hardens. "We have heard rumors of such technology, whispers from other Imperial facilities, but never confirmation." She gestures to a nearby crew member. "Record their testimony, full documentation. Alliance intelligence will need every detail." Alliance. The word catches my attention immediately. "You are not just resistant cells?" "Not anymore," she confirms. "The rebellion is growing, organizing. Many separate resistance movements have begun to coordinate their efforts, sharing intelligence, resources, operations. We call ourselves the Alliance to restore the Republic." Hope stirs within me, stronger than before. Not just the hope of personal survival, but something larger, more profound. The hope that the Empire's darkness might someday be pushed back, that the galaxy might remember what freedom feels like. The jump coordinates are set, Commander. A crew member reports. Hyperspace calculations complete. Take us out, Doran orders. Standard evasion pattern before the final jump. The stars outside the viewport blur and stretch as the ship accelerates to light speed, leaving Vallon 9 and its horrors behind. I feel the subtle shift in gravity, the familiar sensation of hyperspace travel that I had thought never to experience again. Around me, my companions react with varying degrees of awe and disbelief, the reality of our escape still sinking in. What happens to us now? Solara asks, directing the question to Commander Doran. That depends on you, the Resistance leader replies. We can drop you at a safe world, provide new identities, enough credits to start over. Or, if you choose, there is place for people with your skills and experience in our ranks. The Alliance needs every fighter it can find. Fighters, Draz repeats skeptically. Look at us, prisoners, not soldiers. I see people who successfully escaped from one of the most secure Imperial facilities in the sector, Doran counters. People who work together despite the Empire's best efforts to break you apart. That suggests strength I would be foolish to dismiss. Her words resonate with me, stirring memories of who I was before capture, before Vallon 9 stripped away everything except the most essential parts of myself. A pilot, a soldier, someone who believed in something larger than survival. The implants. Nava speaks up, her voice soft but insistent. The technology we witnessed. The Empire will continue developing it, using prisoners like us. There will be others in those tunnels right now. We have information, Keel adds, facility layouts, security protocols, things that might be useful to your alliance. I look at my companions, these people who had been strangers united only by shared captivity, now bound by something stronger. Survival, resistance, perhaps even hope. I cannot speak for everyone, I say carefully, but I would choose to fight. To ensure what happens in places like Vallon 9 does not spread throughout the galaxy. To make our escape mean something more than just our own freedom. One by one, the others nod in agreement. Even Draz, the oldest among us, the most worn down by years of Imperial captivity. The Empire took 8 years of my life, he says simply. I would like to take something back. Commander Doran surveys us with approval. Then, welcome to the Alliance. Rest now. When we reach the rendezvous point, debriefing will begin. Every detail you can provide about Project Obedience, about Vallon 9, about Imperial procedures and protocols, all of it matters. All of it helps. As the others follow a crew member toward the quarters assigned for our recovery, I linger a moment longer on the bridge, drawn to the viewport and the blue-white swirl of hyperspace beyond. Somewhere out there, the Empire continues its work, building weapons, ships, soldiers, systems of control. Vallon 9 is just one facility among thousands. Project Obedience just one program among hundreds designed to extend Imperial dominance across the stars. But something else exists out there now, something growing stronger with each passing day, resistance becoming rebellion, isolated cells forming networks, networks forming an alliance. Hope, fragile but persistent, spreading from system to system like the stars themselves. I turn away from the viewport, following my companions. Behind me, the star lines of hyperspace continue to stream past, carrying us toward whatever comes next. Not safety, certainly. The Empire's reach is long, its memory longer. Those who escape its grasp are hunted without rest, without mercy. But for the first time since my capture, I face the future without dread. Without the grinding certainty of endless identical days in Labor Block 17, the looming threat of the tunnels below. Whatever dangers await us now, we face them as free beings, by choice rather than compulsion. That alone makes all the difference. In the crew quarters, I find the others already succumbing to exhaustion, the adrenaline of escape finally fading. Selara sits quietly in a corner, her graceful dancer's hands now still in her lap. Keel examines the ship's systems with professional curiosity. Nava has already fallen asleep, her small form curled tightly, as if still trying to occupy minimal space. Lorne stands guard near the door, old habits not yet broken. Andraz watches me with eyes that have seen too much, yet somehow retained the capacity to hope. "We made it, pilot," he says softly. "Yes, I agree," settling beside him. "But this is just the beginning." His weathered face creases in what might be a smile or might be a grimace. After Valon 9, the distinction is not always clear. The beginning of the end for places like that, for projects like Obedience. I nod, though I know the path ahead is longer and harder than any of us can imagine. The Empire will not fall easily. Its roots run deep, its power vast and terrible. But today, 6 prisoners escaped its grasp. 6 components refused their assigned function in the Imperial machine. A small victory, perhaps, when measured against the scope of Imperial control. But revolutions begin with such moments, with individuals choosing freedom despite the cost. I close my eyes, feeling the subtle vibration of the ship around me, carrying us through hyperspace toward the Alliance, toward the future. In my mind, I see Valon 9 as I last glimpsed it, shrinking below our stolen shuttle. I see the factory floor where prisoners continue to build components for Imperial warships. I see the tunnels below where the experiments continue. I see Project Obedience advancing, step by terrible step, toward its goal of perfect compliance, and I make a silent promise to those we left behind, to those we could not save, to those who even now face the horror of becoming something other than themselves. We will return. With the Alliance behind us, with purpose and plan rather than desperate flight, we will return, and Valon 9 will fall. Until then, I carry the truth of that place with me, what I witnessed, what I survived, what awaits a galaxy that does not resist the Empire's advance, the grinding machinery of oppression, the laboratories beneath the surface, the slow death of will, of identity, of self, and the terrible answer to that unanswerable question, what is prison like in Star Wars? It is not merely the loss of freedom, the containment of the body. It is the systematic destruction of all that makes a being what they are. It is the conversion of people into parts, of minds into mechanisms, of souls into servants. It is Project Obedience, spreading outward from places like Valon 9, a shadow across the stars themselves. But where there are prisons, there will be those who seek escape. Where there are chains, there will be those who break them. Where there is an empire built on fear, there will be an alliance founded on hope. And that, perhaps, is answer enough.